the most feared man in Seoul's underworld, stood frozen on a snowy sidewalk, staring down at a 7-year-old girl who had just grabbed his hand. Chon-woo Kim, the man who made prosecutors disappear, who controlled half the city's nightlife, whose name was whispered with terror in back alleys, couldn't move. Because this little black girl with beaded braids and a gap-toothed smile had just asked him something no one had dared ask in 15 years. "Will you come to my house for Christmas?" The snow fell in thick, heavy flakes across Gangnam district, transforming Seoul's glittering streets into a winter wonderland that contrasted sharply with the darkness of the business conducted in its shadows. Chon-woo Kim moved through the falling snow like a shadow himself, tall, broad-shouldered, his tailored black coat making him look like death personified. At 38 years old, he'd spent half his life building an empire of fear. "Boss, the shipment arrives tonight at 11, said Min-jun, his second-in-command, walking 3 steps behind him as protocol demanded. "The Yakuza are getting nervous about the territory agreements." Chon-woo didn't respond. He never wasted words when silence served him better. His dark eyes scanned the street ahead, always calculating, always 3 steps ahead of everyone else. That's how you survived in his world. That's how you stayed on top. They were heading toward his SUV, parked in front of an upscale restaurant where he'd just concluded a meeting that had left 3 rival gang members significantly poorer and considerably more terrified. It had been a good night. A profitable night. That's when he saw her. A little girl, no more than 7 or 8 years old, stood crying on the corner. Her brown skin stood out in the predominantly Korean neighborhood, her small frame wrapped in a pink puffy coat that was too thin for the weather. Her black hair was braided with colorful beads that clicked together as she turned her head, looking desperately up and down the street. Chon-woo's stride didn't falter. He'd trained himself not to see suffering. In his line of work, sympathy was a fatal weakness. He'd walked past beaten men, desperate women, crying children. You had to. The moment you stopped to help, you admitted you had a heart. And hearts could be targeted. "Boss." Min-jun noticed the girl too, his hand instinctively moving toward his jacket. "Keep walking," Chon-woo ordered. But as they passed her, the girl suddenly turned. And then she did something that would change everything. She ran directly toward Chon-woo and grabbed his hand. The entire world seemed to stop. Min-jun's hand flew to his weapon. 2 other bodyguards materialized from the shadows, ready to intervene. Chon-woo himself tensed, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. In his world, unexpected touch meant assassination attempts, hidden weapons, threats. But when he looked down, he saw only a tear-streaked face and eyes full of terror and hope. "Please, mister," the girl sobbed in English, her small hand gripping his with surprising strength. "I can't find my mommy. I'm scared. Please help me." Chon-woo stared at her. Time seemed to stretch impossibly long. He should pull away. Should signal Min-jun to handle it. Should keep walking like this wasn't happening. But he didn't. Maybe it was the way the snow caught in her braids. Maybe it was something in her eyes that reminded him of a life before he became a monster. Maybe it was the simple fact that she'd grabbed his hand, the hand that had orchestrated murders and signed death warrants, and treated it like it could save her instead of destroy her. "Boss." Min-jun's voice was urgent, confused. In 10 years of service, he'd never seen Chon-woo hesitate. The girl continued, her words tumbling out in panicked English. "We came from the base. My daddy's in the military. We were shopping and I looked at the toys and when I turned around, Mommy was gone. I don't know where I am. Everything's in Korean and I can't read it and I'm so scared and—" "Quiet," Chon-woo said. His voice was rough, unused to gentleness. But it worked. The girl's sobbing reduced to hiccups. She looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. He shouldn't be doing this. Every instinct screamed at him to walk away. But something held him there. Maybe the ghost of who he used to be, before the blood and the violence, when he was just a boy who might have helped a lost girl himself. "Min-jun," he said carefully. "Get her description of her mother. Use the translation app. Boss, we have the shipment. I said get her description. The steel in his voice allowed no argument. As Min-jun fumbled with his phone, pulling up a translation app, Chan-woo became aware that the girl was still holding his hand. Her small fingers were warm despite the cold, trusting despite every reason not to trust a man like him. "What's your name?" he asked, his English heavily accented but functional. "Mia," she said, sniffling. "Mia Robinson. I'm 7 3/4. My daddy is Sergeant James Robinson and we live on the army base and my mommy's name is Grace and she was wearing a blue coat and I was only looking at the dolls for 1 second. I promise I wasn't being bad." "You're not bad," Chan-woo heard himself say. The words felt foreign in his mouth. He couldn't remember the last time he'd offered reassurance to anyone. Min-jun was speaking rapidly into his phone, the translation app converting his Korean to English. "What does your mother look like? Where were you shopping?" Mia explained through tears, describing a woman in a blue coat, her approximate height, the store they'd been in, a toy shop 3 blocks over. She'd wandered out when her mother went to pay, drawn by the Christmas lights in another store window. "I'll send Dae-young to check the toy store," Min-jun said quietly to Chan-woo. "Boss, respectfully, we should let the police handle this. We have business." "The business can wait 30 minutes, Chan-woo said flatly. Min-jun's eyes widened. The shipment was worth 40 million won. The Yakuza were already on edge. Delays meant complications. Complications meant violence. And Chan-woo was willing to risk all of it for a lost little girl he didn't know. "Boss, is this wise?" Chan-woo looked down at Mia, who was shivering despite her coat, her hand still clutching his like a lifeline. He thought about how easy it would be to walk away. How logical. How safe. "Send Dae-young," he repeated. "Now." As Min-jun made the call, Chan-woo did something he'd never done before. He knelt down to Mia's level. His $2,000 coat touched the dirty, snowy sidewalk. His men watched in absolute shock. "Mia," he said carefully, "we will find your mother. Do you understand?" She nodded, her beaded braids clicking. "Are you a policeman?" Something that might have been a smile, or might have been pain, crossed his face. "No, not a policeman." "Then what are you?" "A murderer," he thought. "A criminal. A man who destroys everything he touches." "Someone who will help you tonight," he said instead. Behind him, he heard Min-jun speaking rapidly into his phone. Dae-young was already at the toy store, showing the staff a photo of Chan-woo that Min-jun had just sent with Mia in frame. Proof they had the child, that they were looking for her mother. "Boss," Min-jun said tensely. "The store owner says an American woman was there panicking about a lost daughter. She left with a police officer 5 minutes ago to search the area." "Get me connected to Chief Prosecutor Han," Chan-woo ordered. "Boss." "Now." Min-jun paled. Chief Prosecutor Han Yong-soo was in Chan-woo's pocket, one of many officials who'd taken his money and looked the other way. But calling in a favor like this, using their connections so overtly for something that benefited him nothing, was dangerous. It exposed the relationship. Created evidence. But Chan-woo was already taking Min-jun's phone. The conversation was brief and conducted in rapid Korean. Mia watched with wide eyes as this scary-looking man who'd somehow become her rescuer spoke with absolute authority, giving orders like someone used to being obeyed. Which, of course, he was. When he handed the phone back to Min-jun, his expression was unreadable. "The police will contact Mrs. Robinson and bring her to this location. 5 minutes." Mia's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? Mommy's coming. Really?" And then she did something that made Min-jun and the other bodyguards reach for their weapons again. She threw her arms around Chan-woo's neck and hugged him. Chan-woo froze. When was the last time someone had hugged him? His mother, maybe 30 years ago before the cancer took her. Since then, people kept their distance. They bowed, They cowered, they obeyed, but they never touched him with affection. Slowly, awkwardly, he patted her back. The gesture felt foreign, like his hands didn't know how to be gentle. But Mia didn't seem to notice. She just held on tight, her small body shaking with relief. "Thank you, mister," she whispered. "You're my hero." Something cracked in Chan-woo's chest. Some long-buried part of him that remembered being human. The police car pulled up 4 minutes later, its lights casting blue and red shadows across the snow. A black woman in a blue coat practically fell out of the passenger seat before it fully stopped, her face a mask of terror and relief. "Mia!" she screamed. "Mommy!" Mia released Chan-woo and ran toward her mother. They collided in the middle of the sidewalk, both crying, both talking at once. Grace Robinson held her daughter like she'd never let go, checking her face, her arms, making sure she was real and whole and safe. The love between them was so palpable it seemed to warm the cold air. Chan-woo stood, brushing snow from his coat, preparing to slip away into the night like he'd never been there. This was where he exited. The job was done. The girl was safe. He could return to his world of darkness and blood and profit. But Grace Robinson had other ideas. She stood, holding Mia's hand, and walked directly toward Chan-woo. The police officer who'd brought her, Officer Park, Chan-woo noted, one of the many cops who knew his face and wisely avoided eye contact, looked nervous. Min-jun tensed, moving slightly in front of his boss. Grace ignored all of it. She walked right up to Chan-woo and, to everyone's shock, hugged him too. "Thank you," she sobbed into his expensive coat. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought I'd lost her. In a foreign country, where I don't speak the language, where anything could have happened." She pulled back, her hands on his arms, tears streaming down her face. The police said a man called it in through some prosecutor connection, that he had Mia safe, that he wouldn't leave until I got here. "That was you. You saved my baby." Chan-woo stood rigid. He didn't know how to respond to gratitude. People feared him, obeyed him, paid him, but thanked him? Never. "She was lost," he said simply. "Now she's not." "You could have just called the police and left," Grace continued, her voice thick with emotion. "But you stayed with her, kept her safe. Do you have any idea what that means to a mother?" He didn't. He'd never thought about it. Children were abstract concepts in his world. Future soldiers, future problems, future complications. He'd never considered them as someone's entire universe. "Mia, sweetie, did you thank the nice man?" "I did, Mommy." Mia beamed up at Chan-woo. "He said he'd find you, and he did. He's magic." Not magic, Chan-woo thought. Just powerful. And willing to abuse that power for 5 minutes to help a child. Grace wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. "I'm sorry, I'm such a mess. I'm Grace Robinson. My husband James is stationed at Camp Humphreys. We've been in Korea for 6 months, and I still get turned around in the city. I should have been holding her hand tighter. I should have." "Stop," Chan-woo interrupted. His voice was firm but not unkind. "She is a child. Children wander. You found her. That is what matters." Grace laughed through her tears. "You're very kind." The word was so absurd applied to him that Min-jun actually coughed to cover what might have been a laugh. Chan-woo, kind. The man who'd ordered executions over business disagreements. The man who'd built an empire on fear and violence. "I need to repay you somehow," Grace insisted. She started digging through her purse. "I don't have much cash on me, but—" "No," Chan-woo's voice was sharp. "No payment." "But you stayed with her, kept her safe, used your connections." "No payment," he repeated. The idea of taking money for this felt wrong in a way he couldn't articulate. He took money from drug dealers and gambling dens and protection rackets. But from a mother whose child he'd protected? Even he had limits. Grace looked frustrated, desperate to express her gratitude in some tangible way. Then her face lit up with an idea. "Then come to dinner," she said. "Christmas Eve. Please. Let me cook for you. It's the least I can do." "That's not necessary." "Please," Grace pressed. "We don't have much family here. James's parents are back in the States, mine too. It's just going to be us and maybe a couple of James's army buddies. Let me thank you properly with a real meal." Chan-woo was already shaking his head, preparing to decline politely and disappear. But then Mia grabbed his hand again. "Please come, mister," she said, her voice full of hope. "It's going to be so fun. We're having ham and mac and cheese, and Mommy makes the best sweet potato pie in the whole world. And there's going to be presents and Christmas movies and—" "Mia, sweetheart, the nice man is probably very busy." "But Mommy, he saved me. And it's Christmas. Nobody should be alone at Christmas. Part of something warm and normal and human. 20 years ago. Longer." He looked at Mia's hopeful face, at Grace's grateful eyes, at the simple honest goodness radiating from both of them. They had no idea who he was. What he was. They saw a good Samaritan, a kind stranger, someone worth inviting into their home. Every logical part of his brain screamed to refuse, to walk away, to return to his world where he belonged. He had a shipment to oversee, business to conduct, an empire to run. He didn't do Christmas dinners with American military families. He didn't sit around eating ham and watching holiday movies. But he looked at Mia's hand in his, so small and trusting, and heard himself say, "What time?" Grace's face broke into a wide smile. 6 o'clock. "Let me give you our address." "Oh, but you'll need a pass to get on base. Give me your phone number and I'll add you to the visitor list." This was getting complicated. Chan-woo never gave out his personal number. Never. It was a security risk, a vulnerability. And going on to a U.S. military base? Where his face might be photographed, recorded, added to databases. Min-jun was frantically shaking his head behind Grace, mouthing, "No, boss, no." But Mia was looking up at him with those eyes full of innocent faith, and Chan-woo found himself reciting his number. Grace typed it into her phone. "Perfect. I'll text you the details." "Oh, this is wonderful." "Mia, say thank you again to Mr. Oh my goodness, I don't even know your name." There was a pause. Chan-woo never gave his real name to strangers. Never. He had a dozen aliases, false identities, cover stories. "Chan-woo," he said. "Kim Chan-woo." Min-jun actually gasped. Grace beamed. "Mr. Kim. It's so nice to meet you. We'll see you Christmas Eve at 6. Thank you again. You have no idea what you've done for us tonight." He had some idea. He'd risked exposure, delayed important business, and now he'd committed to attending a Christmas dinner on a U.S. military base. Any one of those things could create complications in his carefully controlled life. But as Grace and Mia walked back to the police car, Mia turned and waved enthusiastically. "See you at Christmas, Mr. Kim." He raised one hand in a small wave back. The gesture felt foreign, rusty, like a muscle he'd forgotten how to use. The police car drove away, taking Grace and Mia back to safety. The snow continued to fall. And Chan-woo stood on the sidewalk, watching until the taillights disappeared, wondering what the hell he'd just agreed to. "Boss," Min-jun said carefully. "With all respect, what just happened?" "I don't know," Chan-woo admitted. "You gave her your real name, your real phone number. You agreed to go to a military base. I know what I did. Do you want me to handle this? I can make sure she loses your number, forgets." "No," the word came out harder than he intended. "No interference. No threats. She's civilian. Off limits. But boss. Is there a problem with my order? Minjun immediately bowed. No, boss. No problem. Good. Now take me to the shipment. We've wasted enough time. As they walked to the SUV, Chan-woo could feel his men's confusion radiating like heat. They didn't understand. Hell, he didn't understand. Why had he stayed? Why had he helped? Why had he agreed to Christmas dinner? But as he slid into the back seat and the city lights blurred past the window, he found his hand was still warm where Mia had held it. And for just a moment, one brief, dangerous moment, he let himself wonder what it would be like to be the man Grace and Mia thought he was. The kind of man who belonged at a Christmas dinner. The kind of man who was someone's hero. The kind of man who wasn't a monster. The next 3 days were chaos. Word spread through Seoul's underworld that Chan-woo Kim had delayed a crucial shipment to help a lost child. Interpretations varied. Some saw it as weakness, the first crack in his armor. Others saw it as insanity. Had the boss finally lost his mind? A few saw it as a power move so confident that he could afford to keep the Yakuza waiting for a kid. None of them knew the truth. He'd done it because a little girl grabbed his hand and he'd forgotten, for 5 minutes, how to be a monster. On December 20th, 2 days after the incident, Chan-woo was in his penthouse office overlooking the Han River when Minjun brought him disturbing news. Boss, the Yakuza lieutenant, Tanaka, is asking questions. Chan-woo didn't look up from the reports he was reviewing. What kind of questions? About the delay. About why you stopped for a child. He's implying to our associates that you're getting soft. That maybe it's time for new leadership in Seoul. Now Chan-woo looked up. His eyes were cold, flat, dangerous. Is he? It wasn't a question. Minjun had worked for Chan-woo long enough to know that tone. Someone was about to learn a very painful lesson about respect. He's staying at the Grand Plaza. Room 1804. He has 4 bodyguards. Send Ji-woo and Dae-young. I want him to understand that my mercy toward a child doesn't extend to men who challenge me. Break his hands. Send them back to Osaka with a message. Seoul is mine. Yes, boss. Minjun bowed and turned to leave. Minjun. Yes, boss. The child and her family. They remain untouched. Spread the word. Anyone who even looks at them wrong answers to me personally. Understand. Minjun's eyes widened slightly. Protection orders weren't unusual. Chan-woo often protected people valuable to his operations. But extending protection to random American civilians he'd met once? That was new. I understand, boss. I'll make sure everyone knows. After Minjun left, Chan-woo stood and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul sprawled beneath him, glittering and alive. He'd built an empire in this city. He was its king of darkness, its prince of fear. And yet, for 3 days, he'd kept checking his phone for a text from Grace Robinson. It was ridiculous. He had business to run, territories to maintain, rivals to crush. He should forget about the American woman and her daughter. Delete the number. Ghost the Christmas invitation. Return to being who he was. But every time he considered it, he remembered Mia's small hand in his. Her voice saying, "You're my hero." No one had ever called him a hero before. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Mr. Kim. This is Grace Robinson. Just wanted to confirm you're still coming for Christmas Eve dinner? Mia won't stop talking about it. She's already made you a special place card for the table. A place card. For him. At a family dinner table. Chan-woo stared at the message for a long moment. His thumbs hovered over the keyboard. He should make an excuse. Claim a business emergency. Disappear like smoke. Instead, he typed, "I will be there." The response came immediately. Wonderful. Mia is going to be so excited. See you at 6 p.m. on the 24th. The address is Building 4392, Apartment 204, Camp Humphreys. I'll add you to the visitor list under Kim Chan-woo. Can't wait. He pocketed his phone and returned to his desk. There were contracts to review, money to launder, operations to oversee. He forced himself to focus on the work. But in the back of his mind, a voice kept whispering, "What are you doing? What are you risking? And for what?" He didn't have an answer. Not yet. 2 days before Christmas Eve, Chan-woo was in a private room at an upscale restaurant, meeting with several of his top lieutenants, when his phone rang. Grace Robinson. He almost didn't answer. He was in the middle of discussing territorial expansions, profit margins, supply chain issues. But something made him excuse himself and step into the hallway. "Mr. Kim." Grace's voice sounded strained, worried. "Mrs. Robinson. Is something wrong?" "I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you're probably busy. It's just, Mia. She's been having nightmares since the incident. About getting lost again. She wakes up crying, asking for you." Chan-woo froze. "Asking for me?" "She keeps saying the nice man will keep her safe. That you found her before so you can find her again. I know it sounds crazy, but she's formed this attachment. Her therapist says it's normal after a traumatic event, fixating on the person who rescued her. I wanted to ask if maybe you could talk to her? Just for a minute? It might help." Every instinct told him to refuse. This was getting too personal, too complicated. He wasn't a therapist or a father figure. He was a criminal kingpin who should be in a meeting discussing how to distribute heroin, not on the phone being asked to comfort a frightened child. "Put her on," he heard himself say. There was rustling, then Mia's small voice. "Mr. Kim." "Hello, Mia. I had a bad dream. I was lost again and this time nobody found me." Chan-woo had no experience with children. He didn't know the right things to say. He only knew how to threaten and intimidate and control. But he tried. "Mia, listen to me. You are not lost. You are safe in your home with your mother. And on Christmas Eve, you will see me again. I promised I would come. I keep my promises." "You promise? "I promise. He heard her sigh of relief. "Okay. Mommy says you're probably very important and busy, but you're still coming to our Christmas dinner because nobody should be alone on Christmas." "Your mother is right. Are you alone a lot, Mr. Kim?" The question caught him off guard. Was he alone? He was surrounded by people constantly. Bodyguards, lieutenants, business associates, women seeking his favor or money. But alone. Truly connected to another human being. "Sometimes," he admitted. "That's sad. But now you have us. Mommy says once you're friends with the Robinsons, you're friends forever. So you're not alone anymore." Something twisted in his chest. He'd killed people who betrayed him. He'd destroyed lives without a second thought. He was a monster who dealt in death and fear. And this little girl thought he was her friend. "Thank you, Mia," he said quietly. "Will you really come on Christmas Eve?" "I will really come." "Okay. I feel better now. I'm going to make you the best place card ever. It's going to have glitter. I look forward to seeing it." Grace took the phone back. "Mr. Kim, thank you so much. You have no idea what that meant to her. To both of us. It was nothing. It wasn't nothing. You're a good man, Mr. Kim." After they hung up, Chan-woo stood in the hallway for a long moment. Good man. The words echoed in his head, absurd and impossible. He returned to the meeting where his lieutenants were discussing the best way to intimidate a rival gang. He slipped back into his role as easily as putting on a coat, cold, calculating, ruthless. But his phone felt warm in his pocket, like it carried a piece of Mia's innocent faith. The situation with the Yakuza escalated. Tanaka, despite having his hands broken as a warning, sent word that he was insulted by the treatment. That Chanwoo's softness toward a child proved he was weak. That perhaps it was time for the Osaka family to take a more active role in Seoul's operations. It was a direct challenge. One that couldn't be ignored. Chanwoo called a meeting of all his top people. 20 men gathered in the basement of a nightclub he owned, their faces hard and loyal. These were men who'd killed for him, bled for him, built an empire with him. Tanaka questions my authority, Chanwoo said, his voice echoing in the concrete space. He thinks I've gone soft. He thinks helping a lost child makes me weak. What do you think? The men glanced at each other. Finally, Ji-woo, his most violent enforcer, spoke. Boss, respectfully, people are talking. The delay cost us money. Made us look unreliable. And now you're going to Christmas dinner with strangers? It doesn't fit your pattern. People don't understand. Do they need to understand? Boss, in our world, perception is reality. If they think you're weak, they'll test you. Like Tanaka is testing you now. Chanwoo nodded slowly. You're right. So we need to send a message. Something that reminds everyone who I am and what happens to those who challenge me. The men leaned forward, eager. This was the Chanwoo they knew. Cold, strategic, brutal. Tanaka leaves Seoul tomorrow, Chanwoo continued. Make sure his departure is memorable. I want the Osaka family to understand that Seoul is mine. That my mercy has limits. That I am not weak. How memorable, boss? Dae-young asked. Very. Chanwoo's voice was ice. But no casualties. Break bones, burn his car, destroy his luggage. Make his trip home painful and humiliating. But he lives. I want him to carry the message personally. The men nodded, satisfied. This was the leader they followed, strong, decisive, willing to use violence to maintain power. But then Chanwoo continued. However, understand this. My decision to help that child was not weakness. It was choice. I chose to stop. I chose to help. I chose to keep my word. And I choose who I protect and who I destroy. Any man here who can't understand the difference between strength and cruelty isn't smart enough to work for me. The room went silent. It was a subtle warning, a reminder that Chanwoo's mind worked on levels they couldn't always follow. Now go. Handle Tanaka. I want it done tonight. As the men filed out, Min-jun stayed behind. Boss, can I speak freely? Always. You're different. Since the girl. I've worked for you for 10 years and I've never seen you like this. Like what? Conflicted. You've always known exactly who you are, what you want, how to get it. But now, it's like you're fighting yourself. Chanwoo considered this. Maybe I am. Can I ask why you're really going to this dinner? It was a good question. Chanwoo had asked himself the same thing 100 times. Because, he said slowly, for the first time in 20 years, someone looked at me and saw something worth saving. Not because I'm powerful or dangerous or useful. Just because I helped when I didn't have to. And I want to know what it feels like to be that person for one night. To sit at a table where people don't fear me. Where a child smiles at me instead of running away. To pretend, just for a few hours, that I'm someone else. Min-jun was quiet for a moment. And after that night, after you remember who you really are, then I come back to this world, where I belong. Boss, be careful. It's easier to pretend than you think, and harder to come back. Chanwoo met his lieutenant's eyes. I've been a monster for 20 years, Min-jun. One dinner won't change that. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure he believed it. On the Christmas Eve, Chan-woo stood in front of his closet, staring at rows of designer suits, all black, all intimidating, all perfect for a man in his position. None appropriate for Christmas dinner with a family. He finally selected dark slacks and a simple gray sweater, still expensive, but less menacing. As he dressed, he caught his reflection in the mirror. Without the black suits and cold expression, he looked almost normal, almost human. His phone buzzed. Min-jun. Boss, the Tanaka situation is handled. He left on a flight to Osaka 2 hours ago. 1 broken arm, 2 broken ribs, destroyed luggage, and a very clear message delivered. The Osaka family won't challenge us again. Chan-woo typed back. Good. Status on all other operations? All quiet. Shipments are on schedule. Collections are up 15%. Everything's running smooth. I'll be offline for approximately 4 hours. Handle any emergencies. Understood, boss. Enjoy your evening. Chan-woo could picture Min-jun's confused expression as he typed that. In 10 years, Chan-woo had never been offline for 4 hours for anything that wasn't a hospital stay or a police interrogation. He picked up the gift he'd purchased, a decision that had taken him 2 hours at an upscale toy store, where he'd terrified the staff simply by existing. Finally, a brave saleswoman had helped him select an expensive doll with multiple outfits and accessories. Every little girl loves this one, she'd assured him. The doll was wrapped in shimmering paper with a bow that had cost more than some people's weekly salary. It felt absurd, holding it. Chan-woo Kim, feared crime lord, carrying a doll to a Christmas dinner. But he'd promised Mia he would come. And he kept his promises. The drive to Camp Humphreys took 40 minutes. His driver, one of his most discreet men, said nothing about the unusual destination. Chan-woo sat in the back seat, watching Seoul's nightlife blur past, mentally preparing himself. This was a mistake. He should turn around. Should text Grace with an excuse. Should maintain his careful separation between his world and anything resembling normal life. But he thought about Mia's nightmares. Her voice on the phone, seeking reassurance. Her simple declaration that he wasn't alone anymore. Keep driving, he told his driver. At the base entrance, security checked his ID against the visitor list. The guards were professional, thorough, completely unaware they were waving through one of Seoul's most dangerous criminals. Chan-woo had left his bodyguards behind. Bringing them would have raised too many questions. For the first time in 15 years, he was walking into a situation completely alone and vulnerable. It should have terrified him. Strangely, it didn't. Building 4392 was a standard military housing unit. Plain, functional, nothing like the luxury Chan-woo was accustomed to. He stood outside apartment 204 for a long moment, the wrapped doll in his hands, wondering if this was his last chance to retreat. Then he knocked. The door flew open immediately. Mia stood there in a red velvet dress, her braids adorned with Christmas ribbons, her face lighting up like he'd hung the moon. Mr. Kim. You came. Mommy, he's here. She grabbed his hand, that gesture that was becoming familiar, and pulled him inside with surprising strength for such a small person. The apartment was warm, decorated with lights and tinsel, smelling of home-cooked food and pine. Grace emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron, her smile genuine and welcoming. Mr. Kim. I'm so glad you made it. Come in, come in. Let me take your coat. A black man in casual civilian clothes appeared from the hallway, tall, muscular, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. James Robinson. I've heard a lot about you, Mr. Kim. My wife says you saved our little girl. I helped her find her way back, Chan-woo said carefully. Anyone would have done the same. Not everyone, James said seriously. Not in a foreign city where it would have been easier to just call the cops and keep walking. You stayed with her. Kept her safe. Used your connections to get Grace there faster. That's not anyone. That's a good man. There was that phrase again. Good man. It echoed strangely in Chan-woo's ears, so at odds with who he knew himself to be. I brought something for Mia, Chan-woo said, holding out the wrapped gift. Mia's eyes went huge. For me? Really? Really? She took it carefully, like it was made of glass, and immediately started shaking it to guess what was inside. Grace laughed. Mia, what do we say? Thank you, Mr. Kim. Can I open it now? Please. After dinner, Grace said firmly. Go wash your hands. Mr. Kim, can I get you something to drink? We have wine, beer, soft drinks. Water is fine, Chan-woo said. He needed to stay alert, in control. The dinner table was set for 5. Besides the Robinsons, there was another couple, Marcus and Jennifer Williams, another army family. They were friendly, warm, asking Chan-woo polite questions about his work without prying too deep. I'm in import-export, Chan-woo said, which was technically true if you considered drugs and weapons imports and money exports. Must be successful if you have prosecutor connections, James said with a friendly smile. That's how you got Grace to Mia so fast, right? Called in a favor. I know people, Chan-woo said carefully. In Seoul, connections are valuable. As they sat down to eat, Mia proudly showed him her place card, his name written in careful childish letters, surrounded by glitter and stickers. I made it special because you're special. The meal was unlike anything Chan-woo had experienced in decades. His usual dinners were business meetings, tense, transactional, everyone calculating advantages. This was chaos and laughter. Mia talked non-stop about school and Christmas and her friends. Grace and Jennifer swapped recipes. James and Marcus debated football teams. And Chan-woo sat there, a wolf among sheep, pretending to be a sheep himself. So, Mr. Kim, Marcus said, you have family in Seoul? Wife? Kids? No, Chan-woo said simply. No family. Grace's expression softened with sympathy. That must be lonely. Especially during the holidays. I'm accustomed to it. Well, you have us now, Mia declared. Right, Mommy. Right, sweetheart. Mr. Kim is welcome at our table any time. The simple kindness of it made something ache in Chan-woo's chest. These people had no idea who they were welcoming, what he was capable of. The blood on his hands. They saw only the man who'd helped their daughter, and they offered him a place at their table without hesitation. After dinner, Mia was finally allowed to open her present. She tore through the expensive wrapping paper with joyful abandon, gasping when she saw the doll. She's beautiful. Look, Mommy, look at all her clothes. And she has shoes and a purse and... Oh, Mr. Kim, thank you, thank you, thank you. She hugged him again, and this time Chan-woo's response was slightly less awkward. His hand patted her back with something almost resembling naturalness. I'm glad you like it. I love it. I'm going to name her Hope because you gave me hope when I was lost. Hope. Chan-woo had given up on hope a long time ago. But looking at Mia's joyful face, he felt something flutter in his chest, something that might have been the beginning of hope's return. They moved to the living room where a modest Christmas tree glowed with lights. Grace served homemade sweet potato pie, which was, as Mia had promised, incredible. They watched A Christmas Story on TV, Mia providing running commentary throughout. Chan-woo found himself relaxing despite himself. The warmth of the apartment, the ease of the family, the absence of fear and calculation. It was like stepping into an alternate universe where he was just Chan-woo, not the feared crime lord, not the man who controlled half of Seoul's underworld. Just Chan-woo. A man at a Christmas dinner with friends. Mr. Kim, Mia said, climbing onto the couch next to him. Do you believe in Santa Claus? Chan-woo looked at her serious little face. In his world, there was no Santa Claus. No magic. No miracles. Just power and money and violence. But this wasn't his world. Not tonight. I believe in Christmas magic, he said carefully. I believe that sometimes, when you need it most, unexpected good things can happen. Mia beamed. Like you finding me. Like me finding you, he agreed. As the evening wore on, Chan-woo became aware of how strange this all was. He'd ordered a man's bones broken just last night. He controlled criminal operations worth hundreds of millions. He was on international watch lists. And yet here he sat, eating pie, watching a Christmas movie, feeling more at peace than he had in 20 years. Around 10 o'clock, Mia started yawning. Grace announced it was bedtime, and Mia insisted Mr. Kim had to tuck her in. Mia, Mr. Kim probably needs to get going. Please. Mia's eyes were huge and pleading. Just for a minute? Chan-woo looked at Grace, who shrugged with a smile. If you don't mind. He followed Mia to her room. Small, cheerful, covered in drawings and toys. She climbed into bed, clutching her new doll, and looked up at him expectantly. Mommy usually reads me a story, but you can just talk to me if you want. Chan-woo sat carefully on the edge of her bed, completely out of his element. What did you say to a child at bedtime? Mia, he began slowly, thank you for inviting me tonight. You're welcome. Did you have fun? Yes, I did. Good. Because now you're part of our family. And family comes back. So you have to come back, okay? Family. The word was foreign. Chan-woo hadn't had family since his mother died. His father had been abusive, violent. The reason Chan-woo learned early that strength was the only language that mattered. He'd built walls around himself, convinced he didn't need anyone. But sitting there, looking at Mia's trusting face, he felt those walls crack just a little. I'll try, he said. Promise. He thought about his world. The violence, the danger, the impossibility of maintaining connections to anything pure or good. He should lie. Should make a promise he had no intention of keeping. Should let this be one perfect night and then disappear. But looking at Mia, he couldn't. I promise to try, he said. But I'm a complicated person, Mia. My life is difficult. That's okay. Everybody's complicated. Mommy says that's what makes people interesting. Grace appeared in the doorway. All right, Miss Mia, time for sleep. Say good night to Mr. Kim. Good night, Mr. Kim. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Mia. He stood, and Grace walked him back to the living room where James was waiting with his coat. Thank you for coming, James said, shaking his hand again. You made my daughter's Christmas. That means everything to us. Thank you for having me, Chan-woo replied. The words felt stilted, formal, but genuine. Grace walked him to the door. Mr. Kim, I meant what I said. You're welcome here any time. I know we don't really know each other, but you seem like someone who could use a place to just be yourself. This can be that place, if you want it. Chan-woo looked at this kind woman who had no idea she was offering sanctuary to a monster. You're very generous, Mrs. Robinson. Grace. Please call me Grace. And you're very kind. Don't let anyone tell you different. As he walked back to his car, the cold air hit him like a slap back to reality. His phone showed 17 missed calls, business that couldn't wait, problems that needed his attention, a world that demanded his presence. He was about to climb into the car when he heard running footsteps. He turned to see Mia in her bathrobe, Grace running behind her. Wait. Mia called. I forgot to give you something. She thrust a folded piece of paper into his hand, then hugged him one more time before Grace scooped her up and carried her back inside, apologizing over her shoulder. In the car, Chan-woo unfolded the paper. It was a drawing, stick figures of him and Mia holding hands, surrounded by stars and hearts. At the top, in careful letters, Mr. Kim, my hero. Love, Mia. He stared at it for a long time. His driver finally cleared his throat. Where to, boss? Chan Woo carefully folded the drawing and put it in his wallet, next to the photo of his mother, the only personal item he carried. Home, he said. Then, no. Take me to the office. I have work to do. But as Seoul's lights blurred past, he kept touching the wallet where the drawing rested. A small piece of light in his world of darkness. A reminder that for one night, he'd been someone's hero instead of their nightmare. The next day, Chan Woo was back to business as usual. Meetings with lieutenants, decisions about territory, approval of financial transactions. He wore his black suit, spoke in his cold voice, maintained the iron control that kept his empire running. But something had shifted. His men could feel it, even if they couldn't name it. When a young enforcer suggested using a civilian's daughter as leverage against a debtor, Chan Woo's response was swift and terrifying. "We don't touch children," he said, his voice ice. "Ever. Anyone who can't follow that rule doesn't work for me." Understood. The room nodded quickly. It wasn't a new rule. Chan Woo had always drawn certain lines. But now there was steel in his voice that went beyond strategy. Personal conviction rather than tactical consideration. Min-jun approached him after the meeting. "Boss, Grace Robinson texted you. Thanking you again for coming to dinner." Chan Woo had been ignoring his personal phone all day. He picked it up now, reading her message. "Thank you so much for making our Christmas so special. Mia keeps asking when you'll visit again. No pressure, but you're always welcome. Hope you had a good Christmas. Grace." He should ignore it. Should let this connection fade naturally. Should return to being the man he was before a little girl grabbed his hand. Instead, he found himself typing, "Thank you for your hospitality. It was a memorable evening. Please tell Mia I will visit again when I can. Send." The commitment was made. Another thread tying him to something outside his dark world. "Boss," Min-jun said carefully, "is this wise? Maintaining contact?" "Probably not." "Then why?" Chan Woo looked at his lieutenant, this man who'd been loyal for a decade, who'd seen him at his worst and his best, who deserved honesty. "Because for one night, I remembered what it was like to be human. And I'm not ready to let that go yet." Over the next month, Chan Woo did something unprecedented. He visited the Robinsons 3 more times. Quick visits, an hour here, 2 hours there. He brought Mia books, taught her basic Korean phrases, listened to her endless stories about school. He never brought his work with him. Never let that darkness touch them. When he crossed the threshold of their apartment, he left Chan Woo the crime lord behind and became just Chan Woo. A friend. A visitor. Someone who belonged at their table. But maintaining that separation was exhausting. Every visit meant coordinating security without them knowing. Meant clearing his schedule. Meant compartmentalizing in ways that were becoming harder to sustain. In February, things came to a head. A rival gang made a move on one of Chan Woo's territories. The response should have been immediate and brutal, a reminder of what happened to those who challenged him. But Chan Woo hesitated, considering alternatives, weighing consequences in ways he never had before. His lieutenants noticed. In a private meeting, Ji Woo voiced what everyone was thinking. "Boss, with respect, you're not yourself. Ever since that Christmas dinner, you're softer, more hesitant. In our world, hesitation gets you killed." "Are you questioning my leadership?" "I'm questioning what's happening to you. We've followed you because you're strong, decisive, ruthless when necessary. But now, you're thinking about a little girl and her family when you should be thinking about business. That's dangerous. For you and for all of us." Chan Woo looked around the room at his loyal men. They were right. He was changing. The walls he'd built were crumbling. And in his world, that was fatal. "What do you suggest?" he asked quietly. "Cut ties with the Americans. Completely. Return to being who you were. Or, Ji-woo hesitated. Or get out entirely. If you want to be that man, the one who goes to Christmas dinners and visits little girls and pretends to be normal, then get out of this life. But you can't be both. Eventually, those two worlds will collide, and someone will get hurt. The truth hit Chan-woo like a physical blow. Ji-woo was right. He couldn't maintain this split forever. Eventually, his enemies would learn about the Robinsons, would see them as leverage, would target Mia to get to him. The thought made his blood run cold. That night, alone in his penthouse, Chan-woo made the hardest decision of his life. He texted Grace, "I need to stop visiting. It's not safe for your family to be associated with me." Her response came within minutes. "What? Why? What happened? Did we do something wrong?" "No. You did everything right. That's the problem. My world is dangerous. I can't let it touch you. We can handle it. Whatever you're involved in, you can't. Please trust me on this. It's better if I stay away." There was a long pause. Then, Mia will be heartbroken. That truth was like a knife in his chest. But better her heartbroken than endangered. "I'm sorry. Tell her I'm sorry." He blocked the number, deleted their contact, erased the physical evidence of his connection to them. But he couldn't erase Mia's drawing, still in his wallet. Couldn't erase the memory of feeling human. Couldn't erase the knowledge that there was another way to live, even if it wasn't available to him. For 3 weeks, Chan-woo threw himself back into his work with renewed intensity. He was colder, harder, more ruthless than before. He crushed the rival gang completely, made examples of traitors, expanded his territory. His men stopped questioning him. This was the Chan-woo they knew. The monster. The king of Seoul's underworld. But late at night, in his empty penthouse, he would take out Mia's drawing and stare at the stick figures holding hands. And he would wonder if Ji-woo had been right about the other option. Getting out entirely. Could he? After 20 years of blood and violence, could he just walk away? Find redemption? Become the man Mia thought he was? The thought was laughable. Men like him didn't get happy endings. They died violently or went to prison. Those were the only 2 exits from his world. But then, men like him also didn't get invited to Christmas dinner. Didn't get called heroes. Didn't receive drawings of stick figures holding hands. Maybe, just maybe, there was a third option. The prosecutor looked at the documents spread across his desk, his face pale with shock. This is everything. Names, dates, transaction records, witness statements. This could take down half the organized crime in Seoul. Chan-woo sat across from him, wearing a simple shirt and jeans instead of his usual expensive suits. He looked tired but peaceful. In exchange for witness protection, relocation, and immunity, Chan-woo said. "And one more thing." "What?" "There's an American family on Camp Humphreys. The Robinsons. They don't know who I really am. They can never know. No contact, no disclosure, no danger. They get to keep believing I was just a nice man who helped their daughter. Can you guarantee that?" The prosecutor nodded slowly. "That can be arranged." "Then we have a deal." 2 months later, Chan-woo disappeared. The news called it the biggest organized crime takedown in South Korean history. Dozens arrested, operations dismantled, an empire crumbling. And somewhere in Australia, in a small town by the ocean, a man who was once Chan-woo Kim but now went by David Park worked in a bookstore. He lived quietly, simply, trying to atone for his past by living a better present. He couldn't contact the Robinsons. That was the deal, and probably for the best. But sometimes at night, he would take out a worn drawing of 2 stick figures holding hands, and he would remember the little girl who taught him that it was never too late to be someone's hero. That even monsters can find redemption. That sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is someone who believes you're good, because it makes you want to live up to their belief. Mia Robinson never knew that her simple act of grabbing a stranger's hand had saved him just as surely as he'd saved her. That her invitation to Christmas dinner had given him something worth changing for. She just knew that once upon a time, a nice man had helped her when she was lost. And that was enough. Thank you so much for watching this incredible story of redemption and transformation. If this tale of how one little girl's courage and innocence changed a dangerous man's entire life touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories, and comment below. Would you have invited a stranger to your Christmas dinner? What did you think of Chan-woo's journey? Your engagement helps us bring you more powerful stories like this one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next upload. Remember, sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. See you in the next story.